Back in 1999, a transcript of a really bizarre interview started making the rounds. The person being interviewed claimed she wasn't human. She claimed to be part of an ancient race that's native to our planet. And if her story is true, well, it completely rewrites not just our history, but the entire story of life on Earth. So let's dive into the incredible claims of the Lacerta interview.
Right off the bat, this was the heart of her message, a single sentence that flips our whole worldview upside down. She basically said that while her species evolved right here on Earth, humanity, we're the real aliens, an engineered creation from the stars. Okay, so let's set the scene. We're in a remote part of southern Sweden, late 1999. A man, who we only know as Ole K, has set up a meeting with a woman. His friend told him she was, well, not what she seemed. And that right there was the setup for one of the strangest conversations you'll ever read.
Now, when Ole K first met her, he saw nothing out of the ordinary. Just a young woman with brown hair who looked totally normal. You can imagine, he was pretty skeptical. But that skepticism was not going to last long.
He just came right out and asked her to show him her true form. She apparently hesitated for a second and then said, "Prepare yourself." And then, right there in front of him, her human features reportedly just melted away, revealing something else entirely. So what did he see? Well, what Ole described was a being that was humanoid, sure, but also distinctly reptilian. He said her skin was a mix of greenish-brown and gray scales. Her eyes had these vertical pupils that could narrow down to a tiny slit. She didn't have ears like us, just these small flaps she could close. And her hands, they were slender with really long fingers that were slightly webbed. She told him to call her Lacerta. In her own language, that name means something like lizard race. And her reason for all this? She claimed it was basically a social experiment. She wanted to see how a regular human would react to the real truth of their world. And she actually encouraged Ole to publish the entire transcript for all of us to see.
Okay, so with the introductions out of the way, Lacerta started to lay out her first and, honestly, her most mind-bending claim that we have the story of our own planet totally wrong. And this is where the story just flips everything on its head. See, we think of ourselves as the natives of Earth, right? But Lacerta claims her species evolved here, that they descended from dinosaurs over 65 million years. And those aliens we're always looking for out in the stars? Well, according to her, we should be looking in a mirror. We're the aliens. She also argued that her race hasn't been completely hidden from us. She pointed all these recurring symbols in our most ancient cultures. You know, the serpent in the Bible, the snake gods in Egypt and all over South America. She suggested these weren't just myths, but were actually faded, distorted memories of her people. But wait, it gets even wilder, because according to Lacerta, the history of Earth wasn't just shaped by evolution. It was shaped by a devastating interstellar war that happened right here, in our own solar system. Her version of history is just staggering. It all starts 65 million years ago with a war between two different alien races fighting over raw materials right here on Earth. She claims the radiation from this conflict is actually what kick-started the evolution of her own species, which came from a small type of dinosaur that managed to survive the whole thing. You know that asteroid that we all learned wiped out the dinosaurs? She says that's not what happened. She claims it was the detonation of a powerful experimental bomb. The goal wasn't even to destroy life. It was to vaporize the planet's copper deposits, a resource that both sides desperately needed. The nuclear winter that followed, well, that's what caused the mass extinction we know about. So, after millions of years of evolution, Lacerta's people became the first intelligent civilization on Earth. But they wouldn't be the last. A new group arrived from the stars, and they had big plans for this little blue planet. So, let's break down the three main players in this whole cosmic drama. First, you've got the native Reptilians, who evolved to have these powerful psychic abilities. Then, you have the Elohim, a super technologically advanced humanoid race from the Aldebaran star system. And finally, there's us, humanity, genetically engineered by the Elohim to be dependent on technology, with our own psychic potential intentionally shut down. So how did we get here? According to Lacerta, the Elohim showed up and just started experimenting on Earth's primates. They created 6 earlier versions of humanity, each one more advanced than the last. But after each cycle, they just wiped the slate clean with some kind of manufactured disaster, like a great flood. We are the 7th and latest model. And the reason for our limited mental powers?
Apparently, a previous generation developed strong psychic abilities and nearly overthrew their creators. The Elohim were not going to make that mistake again. Next, Lacerta tried to explain how these psychic abilities actually work. She described this hidden layer of reality that our science just hasn't discovered yet, one that her race and others can actually manipulate with their minds. She called it the paralayer. The best way to think of it is like a field that connects absolutely everything, all matter, all consciousness. It's a different layer of reality running parallel to our own, and by focusing their minds, beings with strong psychic abilities can create a change in that paralayer, which then shows up as a physical effect in our world. And this wasn't just some abstract theory. Ole K reported that right after she finished explaining this, a pencil that was just lying on the table between them suddenly jumped into the air, hovered for a second, and fell back down. She never touched it. It was a simple but pretty profound demonstration. But it turns out it's not just the Elohim and the rival reptilians visiting. Lacerta claimed that Earth is currently host to 14 different alien species. 11 of them are from our universe, but 3, including that ancient rival race, are from another dimension entirely. And some of these groups, she said, are in direct contact with human governments. She even gave a kind of field guide for UFO spotters. Those long, cigar-shaped ships you hear about, she says those belong to her people. The classic flying saucers, those are flown by other alien species. And what about those mysterious black triangles? Lacerta claims those are actually ours, built by human militaries using reverse-engineered alien tech they got from crash sites like Roswell. And that brings us to the end of the interview. She explained why her people stay hidden, and she had a final and honestly pretty chilling message for humanity, the race that was created by their ancient enemies. So after the 6th version of humanity was wiped out, Lacerta's people finally went to war with the Elohim, but they were just outmatched technologically. They lost, and as part of the truce, they were forced to abandon the surface of the earth and now live in these massive ancient cities deep underground. Her final message wasn't a warning, and it wasn't one of hope. It was just cold, complete detachment. She explained that her people see us as the children of their old enemy. They have absolutely no investment in whether we survive or destroy ourselves. They won't help us, and they won't harm us. They're just watching. So what do we make of all this? Is the Lacerta interview just an incredibly detailed, imaginative piece of fiction? Or is it a peek into a reality that is so far beyond our own that we can only brush it off as fantasy? It's a story with claims that, weirdly, seem to connect with some of our oldest myths and mysteries. In the end, what you choose to believe? Well, that's up to you.